Hello and welcome back. This is Lauren Sampoli with Junior Achievement. I am here with Angie Lombardi. She is the Vice President of Marketing with the Franklin Johnston Group. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Lauren. Happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about your position with what Franklin Johnston Group does and what you do with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Franklin Johnston Group, what we do is we are a multifamily developer and manager. So multifamily, simply put, is apartment communities. When I was growing up, you hear apartment communities all the time. And when I got into the business and heard multifamily, I didn't know that that was like the industry technical term for apartments.
Sure.
So just to let people know what multifamily means, it does mean, apartment communities that are, have apartments for rent. They could be smaller, 10 units. They could be up to 600, 700, 1,000 units, depending on where they are in the United States and what the market is like. So we don't build ourselves, but we do develop. So we work with architects and we come up with what we want our communities to look like, what we want the features to be, what we want the amenities to be, and then we have a specific builder in Virginia Beach, a local Virginia Beach company that we use to do the building and actual construction for us, but we work very closely side by side through the entire process. And then what we do is we manage those communities. So again, when you're growing up or you're living in an apartment, you don't realize everything that goes into running one of these places, right? You go into your apartment, you walk out. If the washer breaks or you need something fixed, you call maintenance and they come fix it. And you don't really think much of it. You pay your rent, you might use the pool, and you kind of go about your day. It is unbelievable how many people it takes to run an apartment community, depending on the size. You have a manager, you might have an assistant manager, a leasing person, the maintenance staff that has to upkeep everything, groundskeepers. That's just who you see on site. But then there are people like me who are in marketing to help people know about the community and how much it costs and what we have to offer, as well as accountants that have to deal with all of the, process all the invoices and do all the payments for everything you see at the community. So it really blew my mind when I got into this business, how much actually goes into it. Even after the community is built, if somebody moves out, who's going to repaint the unit, who's going to clean the carpets, who's going to replace the faucet if it's broken, all of those things. So not only people that work for our company, but then also our vendor partners that we work with. There's hundreds of them as well throughout the country or throughout the 7 states that we are in. So we manage and develop communities.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I did not think about all those things.
Yeah.
So how did you come to this position?
So I took a very traditional path to this role. Typically, somebody in my position would have worked with a multifamily company before. Maybe they were a property manager, maybe they were a regional manager. They've worked on the operations side of it, as we call it. So being on site at those communities, working with residents, and maybe working their way up into a corporate position of some sort. My background is advertising and sales. So I went to ODU.
Hey, Monarchs.
I went to ODU and I majored in marketing. It's something that I really fell in love with when I was in high school and was in DECA and really liked the advertising side. I dabbled very, 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 very small in modeling for a very little bit of time in my very small town in Pennsylvania. So nothing I would consider, anything big. But that just really made me love fashion and marketing and advertising and looking through magazines and what gets people to take action and buy something, right? Mm-hmm. So I was lucky enough my senior year to have a friend who was graduating and her internship position was going to be available at an ad agency in Norfolk. So I met with her bosses and I was able to secure that paid internship, which was great. So I got credits and got paid.
Yeah.
That is one thing I will point out. If you can hit 2 birds with 1 stone, get paid and get credits for an internship, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. So that's one piece of advice that I would definitely give to people. And so I did that for a while. I worked there for several years, worked my way up after I graduated, secured a position there, and then worked in a couple different positions within the agency and became an assistant account executive. So I was working alongside our VP on Norfolk Convention and Visitors Bureau and, you know, the Sheraton in Norfolk and Ferguson Enterprises and a lot of like big clients.
Sure.
And so that was really exciting. I, though, wanted to spread my wings a little bit, being from a small town. My goal was to get to New York. And so Norfolk, I started to feel like I outgrew it. So I moved to Northern Virginia and worked for an agency there, and they specialized only in real estate.
Okay.
Mostly single family homes.
Okay.
This was when the boom was going on in like 2005, 6, 7, when you couldn't keep homes. Yeah. Like on the market. They were selling like hotcakes. People were pre-buying homes before they were built. Whew. So we would build these pre-construction websites and show them the renderings and the architecture drawings and what they were going to look like and what their home would be once it was built. And they were already buying it. It was crazy. But that was not a great experience. The owners, the management staff just were not, I'm trying to find a very diplomatic word, but let's just say it was not a good place. It wasn't just a good working environment.
Sure, sure.
And a couple of my friends that I met when I moved to Northern Virginia were in sales, working 4 to 5 hours a day, making double what I was making, had a company car, a laptop, a cell phone. And I'm like, I'm here killing myself, working 10-hour days for very little money and in a place that I hate. Yeah. And it was quite boring. I mean, I'm in marketing now for a builder / management company, but it is so much different. One, because of the day and age it is and the technology, but two, just no day is the same. Where that day, that job was like Groundhog Day. Yeah. Like we make pre-construction websites, and then all we do is change the name and change some colors, and it just wasn't creative enough for me. Sure. Even though I'm horrible at art, I like the ideas and being able to have somebody else make it come to fruition. Yeah. So I left there and went into sales, and that was very hard. I will tell anyone that wants to go into sales, it is a fantastic industry to be in. It is a fantastic way to go, but you have to be prepared. I thought, being in advertising, I have sales experience. Sure. I was trying to convince clients to spend thousands of dollars on radio ads or $20,000 on a print campaign, or, you know, that seemed like a pretty big deal to me. Yeah. And when I went to interview for sales positions, I found out they didn't really think that was sales. So I had to start at the bottom again. Yeah. Which was fine, you know, being like 26 in in a fairly new place that I'd only lived for like a year, didn't know very many people. So I didn't have a lot of connections, and I started selling copiers. Oh, okay. I was one of, I think, 3 women, 2 women. There were 3 of us, 3 women in the entire office. It was a very like boys club, which is fine with me because I'm kind of like that. I can roll with it, and it was actually really fun, but really hard. Sure. Everybody has a copier. Yeah. Everybody has a printer. Yeah. You know, and I tell our leasing consultants now, who are basically salespeople, they're trying to get somebody to rent an apartment, to buy an apartment for a year. Sure. These people are coming to you. Your prospects are reaching out to you. I had to call people that didn't know my name, didn't know my company's name, and oh, by the way, already had what I was trying to sell them. Right. Right. Oh. So it humbled me. It made me learn how to cold call really, really well. Which I hate. I absolutely hate. It's terrible. Yeah. I think there's like 1% of salespeople that love cold calling. And they must be the devil. I don't know where they came from. But I will tell you, it taught me so much. It gave me thick skin. When people hang up on you, they yell at you. You know, I wasn't calling people's homes at 8 o'clock at night. I was calling businesses. Sure. You know? So I didn't feel like I was the robocallers that we get today that are calling at all hours of the night and really interrupting people's lives. I was calling a business, you know. But I would say anybody that if you have a chance to get in with a sales organization, the training that some of these organizations will give you is unparamount. I mean, I don't think that's the right word, but I had 2 weeks training when I went to copier sales. Then I was recruited to go work for ADP. I had a friend that went to work for ADP, and they have a fantastic training program. It's very rigorous. I mean, you have to do, fake cold calls in front of people. It's very intimidating. You're embarrassed. you mess up, you're in front of your peers, but what it will teach you and what you'll learn about yourself and how to communicate with people, how to overcome objections, and not be embarrassed when somebody hangs up on you. Okay, they hung up, big deal. You don't know that,
Right.
who cares? You know what I mean? It's not the world.
Sure.
So that really taught me a lot. So to make a long story somewhat short, I have a tendency to be long-winded. I had a couple different sales jobs. When you're in sales, that's the other thing. You get recruited, right? If you do well, headhunters find out, or especially ADP, we would just have headhunters. They would just go down our phone list and just dial extensions.
Wow.
Reason being is because if you work for a company that has that good of a reputation for their training, people seek you out.
Yeah.
They don't care that you don't know about their pharmaceutical. They don't care that you don't know about the medical device. They can teach you that. They want to know that you have gone through the ringer of these trainings and have had the cold call and have had to, they know that you've got the experience. They can teach you everything. So that's that. So met my husband. Again, I had met him I ran into him a couple times in my life, but ran into him again when I was in Northern Virginia. He was getting ready to move back to Virginia Beach. And I was still in DC and I was not really liking it. I had lasted about 5 years and I was like, okay, I need back to the beach and sun and no, not as much traffic and people that are nice. And, I was very jaded on Northern Virginia at that time. And, my husband and I started dating and he was commuting back and forth and I was commuting back and forth. And, so he would stay at my place because he had already sold his place in Northern Virginia. And, so we had been friends throughout the years. And so we, just had a very fast trajectory with dating. And, we moved back down here after we got married in 2008 and I needed a job. And one of my friends, who's also my husband's fraternity brother from ODU, bought a company. And it was a cabinet and countertop company.
Okay.
And they didn't have any outside salespeople. They only relied on contractors coming in and a couple apartment communities who needed quick turn, right? Somebody moved out, somebody wants to move in 5 days. Well, I need new cabinets. Yeah. Well, that's usually pretty tough to get that quick. So this gentleman that had started the company had some in-stock cabinets, some countertops. He cut them right there, cut the countertops right there and get them delivered to apartment communities. And so some would come in and order or fax in an order and we'd deliver it. Sure. And he said, I need an outside salesperson. I'll hire you. And I said, you don't know my sales experience. He's like, we're friends. I know you can talk to anybody. I'm like, I don't know anything about cabinets and countertops. My dad was handy. He showed me how to use a measuring tape, but that's about it. I know what a Phillips head screwdriver is, but that's as far as we go. So he's like, I can teach you. Okay. And that's the point, right? If you have the skills, if you have the background, if you have the training, if you have the confidence to walk into a place or call a place and try to sell your product, you can be taught everything else. I've sold medical equipment, I've sold copiers, I've sold payroll, I've sold cabinets, countertops, I've sold flooring. And the great thing about that is some people will be like, oh, wow, you jumped around a lot, or, oh, wow, you've done God, you didn't stay in one place very long. Actually, I did. I mean, my shortest place was 11 months and my longest was 4 years. So, you have to know when you have the experience, when it's time to move on or when it's time to stay. The grass is not always greener on the other side. I will definitely tell you that. Yeah. But I've made some very strategic moves in my career, and that's what you have to do is think about everything, not just what am I going to get paid or what is my title. It's going to, am I going to be satisfied? Am I going to be rewarded? Or feel it's a rewarding job? Benefits, that's something that, a lot of us, we look at the bottom line. What's my salary going to be, or what's my hourly rate going to be? Man, if you've got to pay all your healthcare out of pocket, or you don't have a 401k, those are things you have to consider and build into. Okay, they might not be paying me as much as this other company, but my benefits are better. Right. And that is, a huge peace of mind. So there's that whole thing. But anyway, so I again, trying to make this short. No, that's good. I started selling cabinets and countertops. I started selling cabinets and countertops to apartment communities. And all I did was, I knew we had a couple communities that would come to us and order. And I said, okay, well, who manages them? Okay, well, this company manages them. So I'm going to go. I took a list of every other property that company managed. And I said, well, your sister property, blah, 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 Bird Neck Village uses us, and they're really happy. Why don't you call Gabriel and ask him what he thinks? Let me give you a quote, ask around, see what other people think. And I just started picking them off. Made sure I gave impeccable customer service, fair pricing, you know, all of that stuff. And then I would go to maybe one of their competitors and be like, well, I saw Nussbaum's using us. Why don't you try us?
Yeah.
Because we're getting there to them faster. And if, you know, you're battling trying to get people moved in quicker, we can help you with that.
Right.
And so then I started putting them against each other. Like, well, so-and-so's using us, you should too. And then I started picking those off. So I was very strategic in how I found my client base. And then after 4.5 years, I grew my sales to $1.2 million in a year. So the last year I was there.
Okay.
I think company-wide sales were like 1.8 million.
Oh.
And mine were 1.2. So I was very proud of that.
Yeah.
Worked long hours, worked very long hours, wore a lot of hats. But again, every single one of these positions taught me something. Then a company recruited me to sell flooring because they were like, well, you know everybody.
Yeah.
I've been selling to them for 4.5 years. The people we don't know, you know. The people you don't know, we know. You can build your customer base even bigger. So I did that for almost 4 years. And a friend, again, from ODU.
Yeah. Great.
That I met through my husband and one of his fraternity brothers at the first season of ODU football.
Nice.
Go Monarchs.
Yeah.
She worked with me at the cabinet company for a little bit because she and her husband were relocating to the area. And once I left, then she found another job and started selling for apartments.com. So they have a network of, at the time it was 3 websites. Now it's like 6, selling advertising to apartment communities. So they recruited me to do that. And I did that for a little over 3 years. In that time, throughout all of this time, I've been on the board of the SPCA. I've met some people, you know, moving back here for the last almost 12 years now, met a lot of people through work, through ODU, through, you know, various friends of friends, and got to know the Franklin family. I knew a lot of the people that worked for the Franklin Johnston Group because they broke off from SL Nussbaum. So a lot of them had been my clients before.
Right.
And so I knew a lot of them. And I was selling advertising, and they were one of my clients and were my biggest client. And I became really good, really good with the VP of marketing who handles most of the stuff. And I knew some of the regional managers, and he and I developed a great relationship. Went to he and his husband's wedding and, you know, all that stuff. Yeah. And it was great. And he and his husband decided to move back closer to family in North Carolina. And when they said, you know, well, do you have anybody in mind that could possibly, you know, be your predecessor? And he said, I do. And the president of the company said, well, Taylor Franklin, who's one of the owners, said, he said, well, I think Taylor has somebody already in mind. And he goes, I think it's the same person. And it was me. So I got a call like that night. And they said, will you come in for an interview? So I did. They hired me because they know I've been in every different, you know, industry pretty much. They knew I knew a lot of people. They knew I had been selling to multifamily for 10 years, a little over 10 years. And I had worked with maintenance people. I had worked with property managers. I had worked with regionals. I had worked with owners, depending on what job I was in and what project we were working on. You know, I got to talk to owners sometimes when I was selling cabinets or flooring, because if they're doing a huge rehab, you know, it's not just the property manager that's involved or the maintenance person that's involved. There's a lot of different people at a lot of different levels. So making sure you know how to talk to them, forging those relationships, never burning a bridge, always leaving that, you know, I think that's the best, you know, I think that's one of the best things that I could tell anybody is always put your best foot forward. Even if you don't like a job, always do your best. You know, if you have to move on with pride, with dignity, with respect, because you never know when that person is going to come into your future again, or if you're going to need them, or they might need you. And them needing you could benefit you. You know, you never know. They might need to buy something from you, or might need a recommendation from you. so keeping your network, even if you leave, making sure that you're doing it in a way that you keep those friends and those connections and that network of people,
Mm-hmm.
because you never know when you might need them or they might come into your world again. So,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my very long story into how I got in this position. And again, it's very unlike most people in my role.
Yeah. It's a great story though. That's awesome. The journey, I've talked to a lot of different individuals about, this is not where I thought I was going to end up. Like, you wanted to be in New York and you're like, oh, well, things changed, and so I think flexibility and open-mindedness is really important. And it seems like you definitely had that, and just like, I'm going to make this work, essentially. The project style, make it work, people.
Exactly. Oh, love it. Tim Gunn, make it work. I love it. And I think that's a really good point, Lauren. It's being flexible, and being open to opportunities. People would say, I want to talk to you about this. I want to talk to you about this. I'm like, it's not a good time. I mean, Taylor Franklin would ask me when I would see him out at, an event or in public, like, hey, you still like your job? I'm like, yes. I still like my job. And he's like, all right, well, let me know. I'm like, you don't even have a position for me. I'm not going to quit my job. And he's like, we can figure something out. I'm like, I don't work like that. However, when the position became available, I'm not one to not listen.
Sure.
I will listen to an opportunity. And I think that's another really important thing is just because you're happy in your role or your job or your industry, if something's intriguing to you, there's nothing wrong with just listening.
Mm-hmm.
Listening to what somebody else has to say. It doesn't mean you're going to take the job. It doesn't mean you're not loyal to your company.
Mm-hmm.
But if something's intriguing, if you're not interested at all, then that's fine. Just tell them, I'm really, thank you so much. I'm happy.
Right.
I mean, trust me, I've had plenty of people reach out to me in my sales career and I'm like, no, I'm good. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me that you reached out or thought of me, and done. But you do have to be open-minded to those things that pique your interest a little or, sound interesting and take risks. I was scared to death to take this position. It is a very big role. We manage 103 apartment communities in 7 states. Their marketing for our company brand and all of those 103 communities fall on my shoulders. That's a very big thing to undertake when, when you're just used to having a sales goal and you meet it or you don't and you move on and then the next month you start over. You know what I mean? But I wanted to not be a career salesperson forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to grow with a company that I respected, and I was fortunate enough to land where I did. So,
mm-hmm. Yeah, wow, that's a lot of things. Oh my God. Well,
that's a lot. Sorry.
No, that's great. I love that. So you kind of touched on this, like, obviously, like, you've progressed through your career, like, clearly you were good at what you're doing. Is there anything, I've talked to other individuals about, like, the self-awareness is really important, and like knowing like, okay, I'm not great at blah blah blah, I need to work on that. Is there anything that you like are like, oh, I need to focus on this, or like I'd like to improve at in your field?
Yeah, so for me it was, everything technology changes so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew a little bit about Google Analytics or this or that from being at CoStar, apartments.com.
Yeah.
CoStar owns apartments.com. But I realized when I got into this role that I need to learn more about Google Analytics. I need to learn more about Facebook. I knew enough to use it personally.
Right.
It is far different on the other side when you're using it professionally and have to know how to read these reports and how to pull a report and what does this mean and what is a
SEO,
I mean, I knew what
SEM, all that stuff. Yeah.
And I knew that from marketing classes, but to then have to explain it to someone like an owner or to explain Google Analytics, or they see what's an impression versus a conversion, having to explain all that and you don't know what you don't know. And I'd be like, I think I know this, but I wasn't confident in it. And so I would talk to some peers and read some articles and do some research. And luckily my predecessor I using that word right? Sometimes
Yeah.
I say words and I'm like, that's not right. So I think I used it wrong previously, but anyway, my predecessor, luckily still a good friend.
Yeah.
And he actually has a digital marketing company that we now use to do some of our SEO, to do some of our digital paid ads on Google, Facebook, Instagram, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I don't know something digitally, he's my guru. So I'm just like, hey, I know this, I probably sound dumb, but I can't remember what this means, you know? And he's like, no. That's what he does every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Where that's a part of what I do every day. So I think realizing that you might not know everything, you're never going to know everything. I learn something new every single day.
Sure.
Not being afraid to ask the question. You're not going to look stupid. You know, I mean, if somebody told you something 17 times and you still don't remember it,
maybe.
yeah, you might not want to ask it.
Yeah.
But you can't know everything. And so I really learned that, you know, while I know I'm good at certain things, that was one thing that I was like, wow, I really am behind on this. I really don't know everything I need to. And I still don't. And it changes all the time. There's, you know, always new things within analytics and Google and different places to go, and Facebook Ads Manager that I didn't even know how to use before. I mean, it's crazy. So you have to realize, you know, what are your weaknesses? And that was definitely one of them. I also, throughout my career, this isn't a weakness now, but before I would take things a little too personally. I'm very emotional. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I wear my emotions on my face. Like, you know, by my facial expression, everything about me.
Yeah.
Like
I feel seconds. I am also, I get it.
Yes. So, one, we call it fix your face, like not reacting, you know, to something, if you're in a meeting or something like that, but also not taking offense to certain things. I mean, there are going to be times that people are going to be not so nice, or they're going to say something that sounds harsh. It's business, you know, and in 5 minutes you'll be with them and laughing, but they were frustrated about something and they told you about it. Yeah. Or it wasn't even your fault, but they were frustrated about something else and it came out on you. And sometimes I would, even in this job at the beginning, I'd get so upset, not to break down and cry, but just like, God, why are they like that? Why is this? And I'm like, you know what? They have a business to run. Yeah. You know, they're going to ask hard questions. They're going to get pissed. They're going to have a bad day. They're going to not like certain things. I mean, nothing goes 100% right all the time. You're going to have issues. You're going to have problems. You're going to have hurdles to jump over. And people are sometimes not going to be that happy with the work you're doing. Yeah. You know, even if you're batting 1,000 every other day, there are days that you're just going to strike out. Mm-hmm. And you have to just realize that, you know, they are people. It's a business. It's not personal. Mm-hmm. And just do the best you can and move on. And another thing is always having a solution. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, that's one thing I learned very, very early on in my career out in the world is don't come to me with a problem. Right. Come to me with a solution. Right. I recognize this issue. This is how I think we can fix it. It might not even be the right solution, mm-hmm. but if you have one or two, or even thought about, hey, I think we might be able to get around it this way, it shows your management that you're not just coming to them without thinking it through first. Right. Right. Yeah. 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 No, I absolutely agree. I mean, maybe on a smaller scale, but yeah, at junior achievement, it's always like, oh, like this event, like, you know, we need to move it around, or we have like, they added 20 students and didn't tell us. Like, okay, fine, it's fine. Like, we'll figure it out. But I was talking to an event planner recently, and same thing. She was like, yeah, we don't go to the people who have hired us, like, until we figured out the problem. So it's like, this is the problem. This is how we handled it. Like, yeah. Exactly. Because then otherwise they panic, right? Mm-hmm. Especially with events. Absolutely. That is a very touchy thing, and they want it to be perfect. And for a lot of these places, you know, it's not just an event to have fun. You're raising money. You know, a lot of it is charity and giving back to the community. And you want it to go off without a hitch. And if I start coming to you going, well, we have this problem, the tables aren't here, the tablecloths don't match, so it's like, okay, well, what are you doing about it? Right. You know, this is your job. Yeah. Go fix it. So as long as you come with some sort of, I've thought about it, this is what I think we can do, even if it's mm-hmm. not the solution they go with, it proves that you took the initiative. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Agree. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, I've been working on that as well. So speaking of personal improvement, making sure that you kind of think through the situation so that you can move forward. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there again? You're doing great at this interview thing. You're answering the questions before I ask them, which is amazing. Um, is there any advice that you would give to somebody who is looking for a career in your field?
Yeah, I think the main takeaway is don't limit it to, I talked a lot about marketing. I talked a lot about, leasing and a property manager. There are so many, I can't even think of them all right now. There are so many positions within multifamily. People hear real estate, and I actually went to speak to the ODU real estate school with some of my colleagues from other companies, because you hear real estate and you think big buildings, commercial,
Yeah.
or you think single family homes. Multifamily, our apartment industry gets kind of lost in that shuffle. And so we're really trying to highlight this industry as an amazing industry. I mean, think about it. You're helping someone find a home. It's a third of their income they're spending every month on average. It's their biggest expense, most likely. That is, shelter is like what we need food and shelter, right?
Yeah.
Those are the two main things that we need. So you're helping provide that for somebody. And again, you could work on the development side, helping come up with the plans and finding land. You could work on the accounting side and help with all the accounting. You could be a property manager or a leasing consultant. Leasing consultants basically are salespeople. So you get paid hourly and a commission. We hire people from outside our industry all the time that were in other customer service or hospitality type industries, because they've got that customer service. They know how to talk to people. They know how to troubleshoot or overcome problems. Like, my room isn't ready, or my air conditioning isn't working in my room, if they're in a hotel industry or something. Restaurant industry people with, food being cold or bad or, whatever. So they thrive in our industry. And then, people at corporate like me, I mean, we have people that help with risk management. So if there was a fire, if there was a theft, if there's flooding, if, working with the insurance companies to make sure that we've got everything in place. I've got a couple people on my team that do different things as far as, print collateral and, social media management, HR. I mean, we have an HR team. We have IT people. So you are not limited when you think multifamily to just working at an apartment community.
Right.
And we actually did an internship last year, which was the first time we did it this way. And it was very insightful, where we had 5 people. And they did a couple weeks at a couple different properties. And then they would spend a couple days with different departments in the corporate office. So they could see, okay, do I want to be on the corporate side? Do I want to be in the development department? Do I like the marketing department better? Do I like being on site more? And actually, one of the guys we hired, and he's now an assistant manager.
Nice. That's awesome.
Because he really liked being at the properties. He liked talking with the prospects. He liked talking with the residents. He liked the sales part of it. And he did such a good job that he got a promotion and got moved to our property at the oceanfront.
That's awesome.
You can go anywhere. And some of the guys were like, no, we really like the corporate side. One guy really likes development. The other guy really likes the accounting side. So, you don't have to be pigeonholed into one thing and being a leasing consultant or being a property manager. There's so many other aspects of our industry that you can be in. Maintenance. I mean, if you like working with your hands, we need maintenance supervisors. We need maintenance technicians. Maintenance supervisors basically oversee maintenance for the entire property and have a team of people that help them. And I think they have to be HVAC certified and all that stuff. So even if you go to college and you're like, okay, this isn't really what I want to do, and then you go get your HVAC certification, great. So there's so many different things you can do. And it is a fun industry. It's a very, very, very large family. Because you get to know so many people and everybody knows everybody, and it's very cool. It's a very cool industry.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So again, kind of touched on this, but is there any advice that you would give your younger self? Because maybe somebody watching is, younger you, like, don't know exactly what I'm going to do. So,
Yeah. I think, one, you know, doing an internship, if you can, to really get a feel for what that industry is like. I know people that have done, who was it? Somebody I was talking to not that long ago, she wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And she did an internship and started kind of working in law. And she's like, yep, nope, can't do it.
Yep, this is not.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
And she went into business or marketing. It's driving me crazy. I can remember having this conversation, and I can't remember who it was with. But, you know, just because you start out on a path, you know, certainly it's easier to stay on that path. But, and I kind of did, you know, I majored in marketing and business, and then I went into advertising, which was the right trajectory. But then I went into sales, which kind of was off the path a little bit, but
related.
Kind of a parallel road, I guess. Yeah. I just wasn't on the same road. I took a different route. I took the scenic route around it for a while. And so I would say, you know, internships, trying to work, you know, even if it's for a week, just trying to get a flavor of what that industry is or that job is that you think you want. You know, back in the day, I mean, I graduated high school in '96, and I remember it was like, you're going to be a teacher, a nurse, you know, you're going to work in an office somewhere and be somebody's assistant, or, you know, guys would be a firefighter, a policeman, or in construction. Or I was in a really small town in Pennsylvania. It wasn't like, oh, you can be a social media blah, 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 or you can be a photographer. There's so many opportunities now in so many different industries, and industries that have expanded, and the technology, and it's just insane. So I would say, you know, if you get off your path a little bit, don't be scared about that. Use the knowledge that you've gained in no matter what you've majored in, to delve into that new industry or that new hobby. Or don't underestimate yourself. Right? And do things that are do things that are scary. Do things that might be uncomfortable. Do things that are outside the box, because those are the people that get to where they want to go.
Yeah.
And again, you might not get there immediately.
Sure.
You know, I talked to some folks, you know, right out of college, and you know, they're like, well, I don't want to work for the man, and I want to blah blah blah, and I want to do, and it's like, that's not how this works.
Right.
You pay your dues. I paid mine. I got, you know, internship, then a promotion, then a promotion, then a promotion. And then I started, then I worked for that ad agency, and then I went into sales and started at the very bottom again and worked my way up. It's not automatic. You're not going to just graduate and all of a sudden you're making $100,000 and you're in the corner office.
Right.
And oh, by the way, when you do, that comes with a whole nother set of stress and problems and challenges, right? I read an article one time that said, you know, you want to be the boss in the corner office, but you have no idea the stress then that person has, and you think they're just sitting in their office with their big cushy chair and they're going out to lunch and they're that's what you see. Perception is not reality. You know, so you know, I think work hard, pay your dues, have thick skin, be professional, but don't take things too personally, you know, and roll with it. You know, you might take a different path. To your point, be flexible, you know, and I think doing something that scares you. I read that you should do something that scares you every day. Right? And it keeps you alive. It keeps you human. And you might end up really falling in love with something that you never thought you would want to do. And if not, then you find out a lot about yourself and what you can accomplish. And I think that's all we can do in this life, right? Is work really hard and hope to get some satisfaction at the end of the day, that we are pleased with how we perform, or that we've helped someone, and be confident to look in the mirror at night and say, you know, I gave it 110% today, even if it didn't go the way I wanted. I gave it my all. That's great.
That's fantastic. So on the flip side of things, what is the best piece of career advice that you've ever received?
Oh gosh, there's been
probably a lot.
So much, and I feel like Yeah, I feel like I said it earlier and now it slipped my mind. I think it was probably don't ever overlook an opportunity.
Okay.
You know, again, even if you're happy in what you're doing, if something intrigues you and you're like, wow, I really think I might want to do that, or I might want to check it out, you know, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to listen to another opportunity. It doesn't mean you're not going to take it, you know, or that you're going to take it. It doesn't mean
Sure.
you're disloyal to the company you're with, or that you hate your job. You know, you have to
Trying to
see
be
where it
informed.
goes. And sometimes it goes nowhere, or maybe, you know, it's something like, oh, maybe I'm not ready for that yet, but that's where I want to be someday.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe, you know, somebody else that would be great at that job, you know, whatever.
Sure.
I just always thinking and trying to expand your network, always trying to meet new people, and don't be afraid to, you know, put yourself out there. If you're at an event, you don't know anybody, you know, say hi to one person that you don't know. Because the more you expand your network and the more contacts you have, again, going back to what I said before, you're going to have this bigger network that they can either help you, you can help them.
Right.
And it's just good to be, it's nice to be able to go to places and you see familiar faces.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Sure.
You know one person in the room,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
by the time you leave, you should know, maybe try to know three. So that was a couple pieces of advice, but one was, you know, always try to meet somebody new, you know, when you're somewhere, and don't be afraid to listen to other opportunities, because you never know what could happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I like the bit about always be networking. Yeah. Or just like making, you know, it doesn't always have to be like a business conversation, but just, you know, that person, so that next time you're at this event, you're like, oh, hey. Yeah. Building those relationships. Cause like you said at the beginning, it's all about relationships.
And that's actually a really good point. And I use this in sales all the time with my leasing consultants, is I rarely talk about business at business events. You know, if it's a meeting, a one-on-one, or a couple people in a room, that's different.
Sure.
But we always start out with, how are you doing? Oh, where are you? You know, if I don't know somebody, I'm like, where did you fly in from? Where did you come from? Where did you grow up?
Right.
You talk about dogs or kids or cats or something, and then all of a sudden you have this bond, and they remember you. Like people know I'm the dog person. I love dogs. I have dogs. I try to get dogs rescued. I am in my little Hampton Roads part of my industry, I'm known as the dog lady. I'm speaking at a national conference about pets in apartments. So have that thing, that quirky thing about you that everybody remembers, you know, and talk about that so they remember you, and then find out little tidbits about the people that you meet so that you remember them. You might not always remember their name. God knows I don't. Thank God for name tags. But you'll remember their face. You'll remember that you talked about their kid's iguana that got lost in the closet that you didn't find for 3 days. You know what I mean? Like, find some common ground, whether it's music, whether it's sports, whether it's pets, whether it's kids, whether it's weather, whether it's surfing. I don't care.
Sure.
I don't care if you hate cats. You say they like cats. Oh my God, I love cats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I love cats, but I'm allergic. I can't have them. Whatever. You know,
sure.
I mean, I would say it's, you know, it's a little fib. It's not a huge lie. It's a little fib. You know.
Yeah.
But just to be memorable.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's great. In business, and you know, some of our viewers might be doing like college interviews or job interviews or whatever. Yeah, same. Yep. Absolutely. And speaking of building relationships and interviews, I'm sure as in your position, you have a team that you work with, and you've done some hiring. And do you have any memorable stories about like what to do, what not to do, that fun time?
Yes. Show up for the interview.
Always good.
That's the one thing.
Thing one.
Yeah, always good. You know, dress professional.
Yep.
You know, there are certain industries that are, you know, a little more casual. You know, we're in the summer, we have casual Friday. Actually, we have casual Friday. We have jeans Friday, like every Friday, unless we have a big meeting.
Sure.
And we still dress up. Our dress code's a little more lenient in the summer because we are at the ocean front. We like to go outside for lunch or whatever. It gets hot, you know. But don't dress according to what you think those people are going to dress like. You know, if you hear they have a lax dress policy, it doesn't matter. You're being interviewed. Dress as if you're going on an interview. Don't have your phone out unless you're like, oh, I have questions on my phone. Do you mind if I pull it out? I cannot stand when people are not looking at me when speaking with me.
Sure.
I think that's a huge thing. And I hope it gets better because we're in this COVID situation and everybody's on Zoom meetings and you have to like look at the person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's so many people that don't look at you when they speak to you.
Uh-huh.
Or if there's two people in the room, they only speak to the one person.
Right. Right.
It's like, hi.
I'm over here.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be your boss, which I hate that word. They're going to be your teammate. Like, why aren't you looking at them? They asked you a question or, you know, so that kind of thing. So I think communication, being able to speak to someone, you know, we're in this texting, email, digital world where face-to-face communication isn't as much as it used to be. And it is vitally important. Send a follow-up thank you. It doesn't have to be a handwritten note, but a follow-up email, a follow-up note, a follow-up whatever. Handwritten notes go really far with me because nobody does it anymore. So I will remember a handwritten note. And most mail you get now is garbage. So it's nice to actually get something that means something for once.
Yes.
And
not
not be a bill or junk. So I would just say dress for the job you want. I always love that. And that's in Picture Perfect, a movie that I love with Jennifer Aniston. Dress for the job you want.
Nice.
Be an effective communicator. Look at the people you're speaking with. If there's a man and a woman in the room, I've seen this before too, where they only talk to the man. I'm actually the one hiring you.
Yeah.
He just wanted me. He's my boss, and he kind of has to like you. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
So that's a pet peeve. I don't think I've had anybody do that, but I've had people like look at mainly one person.
Yeah.
And one person might be asking you the question, but you're answering to the room. So, look around, be able to communicate. Only get your phone out if it's where your questions are, or if you need to for a reason, and let them know, like, hey, I'm pulling up my phone because I want to show you X, Y, Z.
Right.
Or, you might have an example on your phone of something you've done or whatever, that's fine, but just set the precedence of this is why I'm pulling out my phone. Like, don't have it in your lap and be looking down at it every time it vibrates. Or like if you're doing that in an interview, you're going to do that at work, and I need you at work to work, not be looking at your phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless it's an emergency. If you have children, like, of course, there's always an exception. Yeah. But as a rule, I don't want somebody looking at their phone during an interview, because that just tells me that they're not that interested in anything that I have to say. And, then we don't need to have the conversation. So,
Okay. I like it. Top 3. Excellent.
And be yourself. Be yourself. I know it's nerve-wracking. You get nervous. We're all people.
Sure.
We had to interview, just like you had to interview. I had to interview with somebody intimidating to get my job. And I was recommended for the job. Yeah. By the owner of the company.
Right.
And I was nervous as hell, but I was myself. You just be yourself. It will shine through. Yeah. So yeah, that's another big one.
Yeah. Really important. So topical question, how are you dealing with working from home currently?
I am getting so much more done.
Okay. All
right. Which is not what I thought it would be. Okay. Luckily, being in sales for several years prior to this position that I've been in for a little over a year and a half now, I kind of already had a makeshift office set up in my spare bedroom that desperately needs a redecoration.
Well,
But so I have a printer. I had my company get me a bigger monitor so I could have 2 monitors at work. I do sometimes work on the weekends or at home at night when I need to do reports or catch up on stuff. Sure. And so I already kind of had, and I have a desk, so I kind of already had a makeshift office. So it was a pretty easy transition for me. Okay. Because I pretty much had everything I needed already. Others, didn't have that because they were always in an office and they didn't ever have a home office. Or if they did, it was not set up to work 8 hours a day. 5 days a week. Now with 4 dogs and a husband who already works from home every day anyway, I was afraid, and I'm very ADD, so I was like, oh, I'm going to be like trying to do laundry and trying to do this and trying to do that and trying to work. But I have found that I've kept myself really focused. Oh, good. Yes, I might throw a load of laundry in at lunchtime, but I'm not near as distracted with other stuff around the house as I thought I would be.
Okay.
I'm noticing things I want to do, and then I'm writing it down and saving it for the weekend or for at night or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's that. And my dogs have been surprisingly pretty well behaved.
Oh, good.
And my husband's office is downstairs and mine is upstairs. So I barely see him throughout the day unless we pass each other in the kitchen when we go get something to eat, you know.
Yeah.
In the office, there's about 50 of us
Mm-hmm.
typically. And so there's a lot of interruptions. There's
Sure.
a lot of, oh, I got to ask you a question. And then that question turns into a 20-minute conversation because you're like, oh, wait, I forgot to ask you.
Right.
Where now it's, let's just schedule a call and bust out 5 different things.
Right.
Or I'll shoot you an email with all my questions and then you respond versus I'm just going to walk down to their office, or I'm just going to walk to the kitchen to get a snack, or I'm just going to, you know, I'm going to walk into Laura, who's on my team. I'm going to go to Laura's office and ask her something.
Yeah.
You know, now it's like sending in, you know, message through Teams or scheduling a, you know, a conference call and kind of knocking everything out. So I've been a lot more productive because I have a lot less interruptions, and I hate being the person at the office that always has their door closed. That's not how we are. That is not our culture at all.
Yeah.
At all. So I don't like to have my door closed at the office, but sometimes it's the only way I can get stuff done.
Yeah.
So being here, I'm still available for everybody, but I can not take the call or I can not answer the Teams message right away.
Right.
So I'm actually a lot more productive. But
okay. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I guess, it's just like, there's that extra step of like, it's not a lot more effort to like seek you out, but like you have to think about it instead of like, oh, I'm just going to pop over. And then, you're gone for like half an hour. So I totally.
Exactly.
Yeah. The door thing, I also like, we're very like, we all collaborate and help each other out, but like a couple times a year when I have like something going on, it's like, I put a sign, it's like, I love you guys, but like, leave me alone. I gotta get this done. Doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes. Yeah, I totally get it.
That's a good idea. I like the sign idea. I might get a little like dry erase board for my door, like when you're in a dorm, and be like, come back later. Don't call
Angie is, and it's got like a list of things. You're like, oh, in a meeting, in a thing.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I agree. It's been a mix. Everyone I've talked to, like some people are like, oh, I'm getting so much more done, but then like some people are like, oh, I'm losing my mind, just like not interacting with people. So I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah, because I'm definitely like, I feel like I'm getting a lot done, but it's also like I would like to not be sitting at my dining room table for the rest of my life.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I think you and I are both pretty extroverted and like to be around people and obviously like to talk. So that hurts a bit challenging, but you know, thank God for technology. I mean, between Marco Polo and Zoom and you know, all these different apps and stuff that you can use, I feel like at least I'm still able to see and talk and, you know, FaceTime and see and talk to the people that you know, kind of keep me going. So, but I really miss just going and sitting at a restaurant and having dinner and a glass of wine. So
same. Yeah. It's hard. Thankfully, like people are coming back with like the takeout options now finally. So it's something.
Yeah.
And the weather seems to be cooperating. So, you know.
So,
I do. Oh, sorry.
I just said, I'm so happy the sun's out. I need the sun.
Yes. Agree. So I like to wrap up with some fun questions. So what are you binge watching in the quarantine right now?
So we were behind on Ozark. We were only on season 2 still. So we got through season 2 and 3. So that was amazing.
Excellent.
Trying to think what else. I don't think we've really binged anything else. My husband binges a lot more than me because he gets up at like 5 a.m. with the dogs. And so he'll watch a bunch of stuff. I sleep until like the very last minute. So, and then at night we only have like an hour or two after dinner and all that to watch TV. So I'm kind of watching my current shows. I love Bravo. So Top Chef, Housewives of Beverly Hills, Housewives of New York, Vanderpump Rules.
Excellent.
I can't even believe I love that show, but I do. We're in the current season of Homeland. So, you know, we record that and watch that one night.
Sure.
We never watch something when it's on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like not really binge watching. We're just clearing out our DVR of all the
Yeah,
stuff
that's fine.
built up. So yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Yes, my parents just started watching Ozark, so I'm getting the updates. I'm like, yes. It sounds
Did you watch it?
I have not watched it. No. I know.
Oh, you know what we are watching right now? I forgot. We started Waco.
Oh, okay. All right. How is that?
About the Prince Davidian. It's good. It's good. So
Okay.
the first, my husband was not feeling it on the second episode, but then I think we're on the third or fourth now, and now it's really.
Okay.
Nuts,
so. You gotta get into it. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
set up.
Yeah.
The front end.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. And to go with all of this, this watching, what is your go-to quarantine snack?
Cosmopolitans. That's my go-to drink. Go-to snack.
That's fine.
Okay. Go-to snack. I don't know. I don't snack a lot.
Okay.
I love pickles, which is kind of weird.
No, delicious.
I never buy chips and dip, but I was craving French onion dip and chips, so I did buy that the other week. So I killed that pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I never was a sweets person, but in January when I wasn't drinking, I started getting a sweet tooth at night because I didn't have my glass of wine or whatever with dinner. Mm-hmm. And so I started eating ice cream, which I never would really eat.
Oh, okay.
I'd eat a scoop and it'd be in the freezer for a year, and then, or my husband would eat it in 2 days and then it'd be gone. So now I'm having a little tiny ice cream cone every night.
Oh, nice. Okay. The Trader Joe's really good ones, the little mini. Yeah, they're perfect.
Yeah.
I like it.
So I guess that's probably my guilty pleasure during quarantine is my little cake cone and my little chocolate chip, my little chocolate dollop on there.
Perfect. Yeah. That sounds amazing. I love it. So good. Well, Angie Lombardi, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. Really appreciate it. Some great stories, great advice. I really hope people enjoy this episode.
I hope so too. I know I talk a lot, but I try to be somewhat entertaining. So
it's all about balance. We talked about it. It's fine.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate you. And if you need anything, I'm here. I'm happy to talk to whoever, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't have a lack of words, so.
Cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Yes.
Bye.